Everybody who knows me knows I love Ford, but seriously, why? Why do you make things so complicated and ridiculously expensive on your new Ford Transit vans? Now, I don't mean like brand new, I mean from like 00 upwards. Why, Ford? Why? Stop. And the cow stopped too. Hello and welcome to another Bodgit and Leggit video. Now we are doing a few bits on a Ford Transit. We have a 2007 Ford Transit behind us and we have a leak coming from one of the wheels. Now, I've done videos before on brakes, but on these type of vans, the braking system is ridiculously expensive. If I was to replace, now this is in Ireland, this is with, so don't start, saying, oh, it's cheaper where I am. Not even genuine parts. I can spend over £2,000 just on buying the brakes and the bearings for this particular van behind me. It's ridiculous. So we need to strip all this off because the seal is leaking, but there's two seals. This seal alone was 55 quid. This is over 160 odd euros here, all from the main dealer. Again, it's from Ireland, so I know maybe in the UK it's cheaper and blah, but anyway, this is what it is here. And when you're doing a job like this, unfortunately, it's not for the DIYer, and I'll explain why. It's simple enough to do, it just takes time, but the tools you need is very, very expensive. And I'll explain that as we go through the video. It's not that a DIY couldn't do it, it's just you're not going to buy the tooling you need to do this properly and by the book. So this is why I have to love YouTube, because if I was to say, you can't do it, you need specialist tools, and people say, well, I don't need any specialist tools and I've done it without. And then if I do it without specialist tools, that same person moans at me for not doing it with specialist tools. Do you see what I'm getting at? Do you see what I'm getting at? So yeah, we have a new hub nut here. That's the part number. We have 3 new bolts. Now these necessarily aren't crucial, but they can break and they can be awkward, so it's just easier to get them. We have the rear seal, and then we have the axle seal, or the half shaft seal. Now there's actually 2 in here, I believe. We only need 1, but yes, that's what we're going to do. I did price up the bearings. The bearings for these inside here, we don't need them, but because I'm in here, we're doing the opposite side, by the way. Just because I'm in here, it was just as easy, but they want over 300 euros plus the VAT for these 2 taper bearings. So we're not doing them. We don't need them, but like I said, when I'm in there, it's just as easy to replace them, but not at that sort of price. So let's show you what is actually happening and what we're going to do. Right, I'm not sure what happened to the video, but I'm missing a video. And what I was trying to explain in it, when a customer rings me up and says there's a leak in the rear of the Transit and then Transits, what I do is I just buy everything, because I know there's only 2 real culprits. It's the back seal that goes on the back of the brake disc, or it's the seal for the drive shaft. So I just buy everything, because it's easier rather than me going to have a look at it and then diagnosing it and coming back and then ordering the parts. It's just quicker and easier for me to give the customer 2 prices, worst case scenario and kind of the easiest scenario. So in other words, worst case scenario is taking all the brakes and everything off for the rear seal, and the best case scenario is just the front seal. So it's easier for me. The customer then says, okay, right, I know what the worst case scenario is, so I'll go with that. So that's why I ordered everything. And what I actually said at the beginning of the video about this is not for DIYers. If you have to take the disc and everything off, then it's an issue, because you need a 65mm socket, you need a massive torque wrench, because it's like 425 newtons you have to tighten it to. And if you start getting this stuff wrong, you're going to be in serious issue. You're going to damage the diff, wheel's going to fall off, and it's going to be all sorts of serious danger. So with something like this, everyone's, oh, you should use a torque wrench for this, and I never do, because there's no point. But like for this job, yes, you do. It's a 3/8 torque wrench. I have one, but it's very, very expensive. The tooling is very expensive. That's why it's really not for the DIY. But in this case, you'll see that this one is the easiest one to do, which makes it a lot easier for the DIY. So that's what I was trying to get at. That's why I explained in the van, and I don't know where the video went, so I'm doing it now. Sorted. Right, so as you can see, I've jacked it up. I've got an axle stand underneath, and we've also got, you can just see way down there, we've also got wheel chocks. Now on this particular wheel, this is the side we are doing. Hopefully the camera shows it. Where are we? Here. We have all oil seeping out. Now, it could be coming from a few places. It could be coming from the actual drive shaft or the half shaft part of it, or actually behind the brakes and the seal. Now, it's important to note this jack isn't supporting the weight. The weight is on the axle stand, which is on the rear. You can just see that the rear diff there. So this is just more of an extra support, and the axle stand is what's taking all the pressure. And yeah, I know people are going to say, well, the suspension can still do and all this sort of stuff. There's no weight in the van. It's not going to do anything. The weight is all on the axle stand, and as you can see, the wheel is still completely lifted off the ground, so we do not have anything to worry about at all. But what I'm trying to say is, don't rely on the jack. Even though I'm not going underneath this, but don't rely on the jack. Fuck's sake. Right, you can see this. There's essentially two seals here. We've got the half shaft seal, and then we've got the seal inside what basically seals the diff tube, you could say, to the disc and the bearing. So the bearing, the diff bearings, or the half shaft bearings, whatever you want to call them. So you have two potential places where it could leak. You can leak in both of them or just one of them. This is the easier one to do, which we actually have. This is our issue. But if you've got the rear one leaking, you're going to have to replace this anyway, and you have to take this one off first regardless. But as you can see, someone's already been in here, and all them bolts that I've actually got new, someone has destroyed them, which makes our life a hell of a lot harder to get them out. And as you can see from the back here, oh, let me get the torch on. Right, let's just get them in there. You can see, look, they've been rounded and utterly destroyed. And this is where it's actually leaking. It's leaking in a few places, leaking down there too. But as we come around, you can see we're quite dry here. The only difference is, to replace this far seal, is we have to take the hub nut off, which you have to replace once you're taking it off. Take off the carrier and the caliper. That's the only real, we only have to take off three things, you could say, the extra to get to where we need to get to, well, what we want to replace. We don't need to replace it on this one. So I've got to now try and get these off, which are going to be a nightmare. Right, so I'm recording this with my head cam, and hopefully we can get it all in. We've only really got three options. We either, well, maybe four options. Drill them out, drill the head off, and hopefully the threads aren't seized in. Get a screwdriver like this and hit the end of it with a hammer to shock it. Get an impact screwdriver, or there was a final option. God, what is wrong with me today? Screwdriver, hit it, impact screwdriver, hammer and chisel. That's really it. So, what you want to do first is to shock it. Always hit it first. If you're worried about, put the studs back on to save the threads here, but depends how good you are with the old hammer. Now, look at that. I tell you, that is so unlucky. Lucky for me. I wasn't expecting that. Now, is this one going to play ball? No, it's probably not. So what we'll do is, now, what you can do is get this in here and hit it. Hopefully the camera's going to see this. Hit, and as you're hitting it, turn it. There we go. So I was hitting it and turning it, shocking it. Exactly the same as what this does. It's exactly the same principle as what this does. Now this is the best looking screw. I mean, these were loose. This is most probably half the problem. Someone's been in here and they've destroyed these bolts. I can't even tighten them properly. That's why I got new ones. I didn't get new ones because I thought someone was already been in here. I got new ones because to try and take these out without damaging them is very difficult. So they're quite expensive. I think they were €5 or €6 each for these. But anyway. I can see it moving. Yeah, we're getting there. Let me get a screwdriver. Now, we are going to get a bit of seepage, a bit of leakage, which is good. And the reason why that's good is because we know we haven't completely lost all the diff oil, even though we're going to be completely replacing the diff oil. But I need to put something under here now so that doesn't go all over the shop. Literally all over the shop. Right. Here is the big axle nut, and we have the bearings in behind there. That's the bearings that are absolutely redonkulously expensive to buy, but we don't need to replace them. And as you can see, this is part of the seal, and I can just see it's essentially just like rust jacketed almost. This here, someone's been at this and just didn't fix it properly, or just didn't know how to fix it properly, because look at all that rust. That's going to cause us an issue. We have to obviously clean that surface. Hopefully you can see inside here, and clean in there, because we could have an issue now. I think looking at that, we're going to. It looks like there's two. Two gaskets on here. I wonder if that was the issue. Anyway, you can see where it was actually leaking. Right, so let me wait for this to drip and we'll continue. Right, I've just spoke to the customer, and what we decided to do is we're just going to do the bits that it needs, because to start doing all the other bits, if it doesn't need it, if it's not broken, don't fix it. Simple as that. I have also asked him when he actually looked through the receipts, because these brakes weren't changed that long ago, and there was a new seal been put in there, so it is a fairly fresh seal, which is good. It's just, I think whoever's done them didn't really maybe know, well, because this is kind of a rubbery seal. It's a weird seal, and if it's not broken, you might think it's kind of okay, but it's not. I think this was more of a human error than a failure in that sense. So what we're going to do is we're going to clean this up. We're going to clean the surface of that up too, because there's actually been sealer put there. It looks like to me anyway. You can just kind of see it here. This is sealer, which you're not supposed to do. And we're going to use this kit to actually clean it up on our drill. This is the Sealey XO036 wheel maintenance kit, and this is really good for getting all the crap off all around there and all around there. But before we do that, we want to stop all the crap going in there, obviously. So I'm going to stick some rags in there, so when I clean this, I'm not getting any crap inside the bearing or inside the diff. Right, I've just used some tape to stop all the crap getting in the bearings, but see, this is really good because you can get in between the studs, but you might say, well, how can I, you know, make sure I get it around the studs? And because this is hollow, as you can see, it just fits right round. I just do that, and you can see, look at that. Now obviously I'm going to go around doing all these studs, and then obviously in between the studs. And I'll show you in a little bit more detail on there, because it's just easier to show you with the half shaft that's out than it kind of is here. But I'll show you what it looks like afterwards. Just look how well this does. This is the bit that I've just cleaned. This is the bit that I haven't. Now this ridge here doesn't need to be cleaned, in the sense of this is not part of the mate and service. I am rubbing it down so it goes past this, because at the minute this is slightly raised compared to this. But we don't have to get this super smooth here, because this is nothing to do with our seal. It's just from here down. As you can see, the tape's holding up well as well. It's going to take you a while to clean this properly, and believe me, you want to take your time cleaning this properly, because if you don't, this whole job is just a waste of time. Right, that's the first pass. As you can see, we've got about 90% of it, I would say. I've just taken off the tape just to make sure there's no crap going in behind it, and keep cleaning it as I'm going. But you can see we have missed a few spots. You might have to go over it 2 or 3 times, clean it off, replace the tape, just to see where you've been, where you haven't been, because I'm using brake cleaner as well, and of course it's spreading, you know, a lot of the crap everywhere, and it looks bad until you kind of wipe it off. But as you can see, we are getting there. Lovely. Boom, boom, look at that. Beautiful, absolutely beautiful. So now we're going to get on with this. I'll put the head cam on for this, and hopefully you can see it working. Right, a quick tip. If you've got nowhere to hold your half shaft, stick it back in your tyre, and it will actually hold it really well for you. You want to take off all this oil. You don't really want the oil there, because it's just going to clog up your cleaner. As you can see, there's just loads of sealer on here, loads of old gaskets. There's all the sealer. Hopefully the camera is getting all this. We want to get rid of that. And now, put this bad boy on. Just look what it does in a matter of seconds. Now, I can feel a bit of rust there, unfortunately. This will kind of grind it down a little bit. I might just get a knife just to take off the heavy bits. Just be a bit quicker than using this. But you can see in a matter of a few seconds just what this can do. It's awesome. Now you can actually buy different pads, different size pads and stuff. Obviously it won't really work with this, because you won't, you know, the shaft's not going to be long enough to go all the way down here, but you can buy different sizes and stuff. I just find that this particular kit comes with these. You can use it for everything, really. It really is caked on. Just gotta hope that the surfaces aren't too rusty, and this is gonna reseal itself. I think we're gonna be fine, but you never know. What I'm going to do now is I'm just going to spend a few more minutes, because I've still got a few little bits around here and a few little bits around there. There's no point you watching me clean this. You can see what it does. So I'm just going to spend another maybe 5 minutes just on here, just to smooth out this a little bit, get this stuff off here, smooth out that. I'm going to get a new pad, I think, because this is an old pad I've got on there, and just with a new pad go over both surfaces again and just get it as good as I possibly can. As you can see, these pads just velcro on. I've got a couple of different sizes. I've just gone for a slightly smaller size pad now, because if you look at this one kind of sticks over the edge a little bit. Not that that's a problem, but this one is perfect. So I'm just going to go around there, brand new pad, put a bit more pressure on it and just clean it up as best I can. Same with the face on the axle as well. Hopefully the camera's showing this. I've just done this little bit here. You can see how shiny it is compared to that. It has dug in a lot more. So yeah, this is as good as we can do it. If it starts leaking from there, we're in trouble. Boom. I'm so glad I did that, because even on here it's so much smoother. And here is the new seal. And I got it on the wrong way. Not that it matters, because I'm not going to put it on here. Here we go. I'm going to put it on the actual brake, but you can see, lovely. Lovely, lovely, lovely. Right, as you can see, it's all done. Nice and clean. What you don't want to happen is now is you don't want loads of diff oil coming out of here. So it's really best to make sure your diff is drained. Now, if you've had a leak for a while, the chances are loads of oil pissing out is going to be fairly remote. But you want to drain your diff oil first, really, because you don't want oil to be coming out in this, because it just might not seal properly. But it won't, because there's going to be a little gap where it's going to be lifted because of the thickness of the oil. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this on here rather than get it the right way, which that isn't. Let me just do this off camera because I don't want to rip. Right, there we go. It's all on, which is great. Now, this, what I was actually saying at the beginning of the video, whether I leave it in or not, but if you're replacing this, this has to be 425 newtons. So it's very, very, you need specialist tools. You need, torque wrenches, 65 mil sockets. You need a lot of stuff. But I got all the torque specs from SY Diagnostics. I'll leave his link in the description down below. He works on Fords and everything, so he does a lot of videos on Fords and all the newer problems you're going to get. So go and check him out. And that's where I got all my information from, because he works in Fords. Hey, it's easy, So if you've got any questions about Ford, go and check him out. Look at his videos. So now what we can do is we can actually put everything back in, reseal this up really nicely, and make sure there's no more bloody leaks. Sweet. Right, getting the splines to line up can be a bit tricky. You want to kind of lift it up a little bit, wiggle it in, but before you do that, make sure you've got your holes lined up, because what you'll find is it'll go in lovely. You think, oh, that's really easy. And your holes don't line up, so you have to take it back out. So just make sure you get it in where your holes actually line up. And there you go, look. Boom, it's in. So what I'm going to do now is the new bolts, and this should be fixed. Well, stop leaking anyway. Now, this is the part number for these, and believe me, you want to get them, because you can see, look, they're brand new, not like them ones that have just been battered. So, and it just makes your life easy. It keeps everything on nice and tight, and you don't really have an issue. Now, the wheels, these bolts aren't really for holding it on, because let's be honest, these wouldn't really hold it on. It's more the actual, when you take off the wheel, you don't keep breaking this seal. These are really only designed just to keep the seal from, moving out as you're taking the wheels on and off, just doing simple things, changing tires, maybe changing brake pads and stuff like that. These aren't really holding anything on like strong. It's your wheel nuts that are doing all the hard lifting. These are just kind of, you could just imagine them as little clips just holding it on, stopping it from coming out every time you take your wheel on. That's really it. But believe me, you still want to get new. Right, there we go. We've got them on. Now, in my experience, the reason why most of these are rounded and fucked is because you use the wrong tool, or people use the wrong tool. Now, I used the wrong tool taking it off because they were already damaged and it made no difference. But putting them back on, I use the correct tool. As you can see, this is a Phillips screwdriver, and just, I mean, it will work. It will now take these off because these are brand new, but when they're old and kind of rusted in, all it's going to do is destroy them. So put your answers down in the comments and what you think this is. I'll give you a bit of a clue. It's made by Stanley, but if you look closely, the camera's going to zoom in. Now look at the difference. Absolutely solid. I can't move that left to right. Fits absolutely perfectly, and I can tighten it and loosen it without doing any damage. See if you can see the difference between the two. I'll put them both together. It's not just that they're different sizes. The sizes are kind of irrelevant in this particular case, but just, I'll give you a bit of a clue. Look in between the shallows. See the difference? And even look at the screws. Look at the extra marks on the screws. That'll also give you another clue. So a little bit of a teaser. Put it down in the comments what you think this actually is. Because believe it or not, there's like 4 or 5 different types of Phillips screwdrivers. Everyone kind of knows the crosshead style as a Phillips screwdriver, not a flat bladed screwdriver. But there's like, well, there's maybe more. There's maybe 6 or 7 different types. So there we go. It's on. Boom. Right, so I'll just give it a quick lick of brake cleaner. And I know people often say to me, why are you here? Why don't you just paint the diff? Why don't you just paint the leaf springs? Why don't you just paint this? Like, why? It's just surface rust. And I always say to them, are you going to work for free? Are you going to spend, you know, to paint that diff properly, it's going to take you 3 days. And I don't care what anyone says. You have to take it off, strip it. Look, no. I'm not going to paint it. And just put a bit of black paint over it to go rusty in a couple of days. What's the point? Anyway. So, then bolts are in. I just give it a quick clean with brake cleaner. And as you can see, well, it looks a lot cleaner. But like I was saying before, these are actually only 4 Newton meters. That's the official torque. And again, got it from SY Diagnostics. But like I was saying, they're just, you know, to hold it in place. It's nothing. It's the actual wheel nuts that actually, you know, put all the pressure on here. These are just, even Ford just call them retaining screws. They're not. They're nothing. Just 4 Newton meters. Don't need to be tight. You're not going to have a torque wrench. I do have a torque wrench to go that low, but you're not going to have it. Just nip them up by hand. It's just to stop it from coming out and damaging that seal. That's all it is. I know people are going to disagree with me, but believe me, that's all it is. So I'm going to just give this a bit more of a clean and put the wheel back on, and that's it. I'm going to do a separate video on how to drain and replace your diff oil, and that's it. And I know I'm going to get grief for not doing the rear seal, and people saying, oh, your brakes need doing, this needs doing. Look, this is what you people moan about, the fact that, you know, mechanics screw people by doing too much work, doing things that are not necessary. But then you're the same people that when we do something to try and save the customer money, we get into trouble as well, so we can't win. We only fix what was broken. It has been replaced not that long ago. Within the last year, these brakes were done and the other seal was done. So I'm not worried about it. The customer's going to save money. If we start doing brakes and stuff, we have to do them on the other side. And before you know it, like I said, believe me, this can get ridiculously expensive. In Ireland anyway. You know, over €1,000 just by doing a few things to the back of this. And it's just crazy. So the customer is going to be happy. There's going to be no more leaks. We've saved him a fortune. I'll return the other parts. That's on me, so he hasn't been charged them. And yeah, so it is what it is. But he's going to be happy. We've saved money from the original quote I gave him. So he's going to be happy, and we've got no more leaks. Everybody wins. And you guys get a video. Sorted. I can't wait to hear the comments on this, but now I said it, they won't comment. But please comment, because it's going to be fun. And oh yes, before I forget, I'm going to clean all this surface up as well, because you can see the rust that's coming here, and we want this surface to be nice and even too, because we don't want the wheel to be kind of, you know, vibrating and wobbling. So I am going to clean up that with the same tool I used to clean up inside there. I just want to show you why it's important. When you come down to here, as you can see, I've just done this bit, but look at the huge lip that is there. That's over 1 mil, maybe nearly close to 2 mil of a lip, and that will make a huge difference to the back, not only with vibrations, but it will also put a lot of force on the bearings and everything, and destroy everything, even to the point where you could even damage your diff if it's really bad and you don't do anything about it. So it's vitally important to clean all the surfaces up nice and clean. The Sealey tool will do the job. Right, and there we go. I know it kind of still looks rusty and bad because it is pitted, but it's level. Now, you don't need all this to be level, because the wheel only sits kind of just outside of each wheel nut. So it's not as if you need it, you know, completely level across here, but still it's nice to get it as level as possible. We're not going to have an issue with this now. We can stick the wheel back on. And no, I didn't put the wheel on and forget to do this. That's why you see the difference between when I ended the video and now. That's just in your imagination. What are you like? Also, very importantly, don't forget to clean off the oil that's around the wheel, because what happens is, it's not too bad when this seal leaks within reason. But when the rear seal leaks, it can actually get on your brake disc, and of course then when you come to brake, you've got no brakes. Your wheel can also, you can just see I've got to clean the inside of it there, also flicks back and puts it inside. So it means you've got weak braking on this side compared to your other side. And if you have to brake hard, the van can kick to the side, and it can, you know, it's just not worth thinking about. So not only clean this, don't forget to clean your wheel too. This is why. Just look how much crap is in there. And when I just come to scrape this off, look at it. Look at that. Look how much crap is in there. That's all oil and road crap. And all that's going to do, that just wants to get on your brakes and make your life hell. Look at it. Also, what it can do is it can make an imbalance of your wheels. So clean it. That is only half of it, and it might not look like a lot, but believe me, it is a lot. That's just half the crap. This is what I was talking about of the back wheel. You can see just this bit. You don't need the big bit in between the studs. Just this bit you need to be flat, because this is what, you know, holds the wheel on, and that's what also holds that seal on. So that's the only bit you really need to worry about. So look, as always, hope it helps. Please like, share, comment and subscribe. Don't forget, links up here, links down below, but most importantly, don't forget, get your hands dirty. See you for the next one. Sorted.